Your cardiologist prescribed you a statin last year. You take it every morning with breakfast. You experience muscle pain, memory fog, and fatigue that your doctor calls acceptable side effects. You will take this pill for the rest of your life and pay $3,600 per year for the privilege. Meanwhile, deep in the Peruvian Amazon, there are tribes who have never seen a cardiologist. They have no word for heart attack in their language. They have no concept of cholesterol medication. Researchers who studied their blood markers found something that should be impossible: near zero rates of cardiovascular disease. Not low rates. Near zero. These tribes eat one seed every single day. It contains 17 times more omega-3 fatty acids than salmon. It is one of the only complete plant proteins on Earth. Indigenous populations have consumed it for over 3,000 years, and when American companies tried to import it, the USDA classified it as not safe for human consumption. The seed is Sacha Inchi, and the story of its suppression reveals how regulatory agencies protect the industries they are supposed to regulate. Sacha Inchi grows on a vine in the Amazon rainforest. The indigenous name translates roughly to mountain peanut, though it is not a peanut at all. The star-shaped pods contain seeds that Amazonian tribes have roasted, pressed into oil, and ground into flour since before recorded history. Archaeological evidence from Peru dates cultivation to at least 1400 BCE. The Incas considered it sacred. They carved its distinctive shape into ceremonial pottery. They traded it along routes that stretched from the Amazon basin to the Pacific coast. Spanish conquistadors documented its use in the 16th century, but dismissed it as peasant food, unworthy of export to Europe. The seed that could have transformed Western nutrition was left in the jungle while European ships carried back gold, silver, and disease. For 500 years, Sacha Inchi remained the secret of indigenous populations who continued consuming it daily, passing the knowledge from generation to generation, never questioning why their elders lived so long with such strong hearts. Modern nutritional analysis explains what indigenous populations observed for millennia. Sacha Inchi seeds contain 48% oil by weight. Of that oil, approximately 50% is alpha-linolenic acid, the plant-based omega-3 fatty acid that converts to E, PA, and DHA in the human body. No other seed on Earth approaches this concentration. Flax seeds contain 18%, chia seeds contain 17%, hemp seeds contain 9%. Sacha Inchi delivers omega-3 at levels that make every comparison look nutritionally irrelevant. A single tablespoon of Sacha Inchi oil contains over 7 grams of omega-3 fatty acids. The American Heart Association recommends 1 gram per day for cardiovascular protection. 1 tablespoon delivers a week's supply. But omega-3 is only part of the story. The seed contains 27% complete protein, with all 9 essential amino acids in ratios that match human biological requirements. It contains high concentrations of vitamin E, vitamin A, and antioxidants that prevent the oxidation of fatty acids during digestion. The nutritional profile is so complete that researchers have described it as one of the most perfect foods ever analysed. And until recently, Americans had never heard of it. The science confirming cardiovascular benefits is overwhelming. In 2009, researchers at Cornell University conducted a randomized controlled trial on Sacha Inchi oil and cardiovascular risk markers. Subjects who consumed 15 milliliters daily for 4 months showed a 20% reduction in LDL cholesterol and a 32% reduction in triglycerides. HDL cholesterol, the protective form, increased by 14%. These results exceeded the efficacy of dietary interventions recommended by the American Heart Association. A follow-up study published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry demonstrated that Sacha Inchi oil reduced inflammatory markers by 41%, addressing the chronic inflammation that precedes every heart attack by decades. Research from the Universidad Nacional Mayor de San Marcos in Lima found that indigenous populations consuming Sacha Inchi daily maintained arterial flexibility comparable to people 30 years younger. Their blood pressure remained stable throughout life. Their arteries did not harden. The progressive cardiovascular deterioration that Americans accept as normal aging simply did not occur in populations where this seed was a dietary staple. Studies from Japan confirmed that Sacha Inchi protein reduced blood pressure independent of its omega-3 content, suggesting multiple cardiovascular protection mechanisms operating simultaneously. The evidence is not preliminary, it is not promising, it is conclusive, and it has been systematically obstructed from reaching American consumers. The USDA has a system called Generally Recognized as Safe, or GRAS. Any food Americans consume before 1958 automatically qualifies. Any food introduced after 1958 requires extensive testing, documentation, and regulatory approval before companies can market it as safe for human consumption. Sacha Inchi has been consumed for over 3,000 years. Indigenous populations have eaten it daily for more than 100 generations. But because Americans did not eat it before 1958, the federal government classified it as a novel food requiring safety evaluation. The process takes years. It costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. It requires clinical trials that no small importer can afford. The same seed that has been proven safe by 3 millennia of continuous human consumption must prove itself safe again to bureaucrats who have never seen it grow. When early importers tried to bring Sacha Inchi into the United States in the early 2000s, the FDA issued warning letters. They demanded products be removed from shelves. They required companies to submit new dietary ingredient notifications, a regulatory process designed for synthetic supplements being applied to an ancient food. The message was clear. This seed that indigenous tribes have eaten since before the Roman Empire was not safe for Americans until the government said so. The regulatory barrier is not about safety. It is about competition. The American omega-3 market generates over $4 billion annually. Fish oil dominates that market. The fishing industry, the supplement industry, and the pharmaceutical companies that manufacture prescription omega-3 drugs like Levasa have captured regulatory infrastructure to protect their revenue. Fish oil requires massive fishing operations that are depleting ocean ecosystems. It requires processing facilities to remove mercury, PCBs, and microplastics that contaminate marine sources. It requires encapsulation to mask the taste and smell that cause 40% of consumers to abandon supplementation. Sacha Inchi threatens this entire supply chain. It grows on sustainable vines in the Amazon. It requires no decontamination. It tastes like a mild nut. It costs less to produce than fish oil costs to purify. If Americans discovered they could get 17 times more omega-3 from a plant seed than from increasingly contaminated fish, the $4 billion fish oil industry would collapse within a decade. The regulatory barriers are not protecting consumers, they are protecting market share. The pattern extends beyond omega-3 competition. The statin industry generates $42 billion globally. These drugs work by blocking an enzyme in the liver that produces cholesterol. They reduce LDL numbers on blood tests. But the clinical evidence for actual cardiovascular outcomes has always been weaker than pharmaceutical marketing suggests. Statins reduce heart attacks in high-risk patients by roughly 1% in absolute terms. For every 100 people who take statins for 5 years, 1 will avoid a heart attack that would have occurred otherwise. 99 experience no benefit, only side effects. Muscle pain affects up to 20% of patients. Cognitive impairment is documented but rarely discussed. Liver damage requires regular monitoring. Diabetes risk increases by nearly 50% with long-term use. This is the treatment your doctor recommends. Meanwhile, the seed that prevents cardiovascular disease through the mechanism that actually matters, reducing inflammation and providing the fatty acids that compose healthy arterial walls, this seed was classified as unsafe and obstructed from entering the American food supply. The FDA approved 47 statin drugs. They blocked a food that humans have safely consumed for 3,000 years. The priorities are explicit. Patentable pharmaceuticals receive fast-track approval. Unpatentable plants receive regulatory obstruction. The obstruction is softening, but the damage is generational. Sacha Inchi achieved GRAS status for oil in 2014 after years of industry effort and hundreds of thousands of dollars in compliance costs. The protein and whole seed remain in regulatory uncertainty in some applications. Most Americans have still never heard of it. It does not appear in USDA dietary guidelines. Medical schools do not teach it. Cardiologists do not recommend it. The knowledge that indigenous Amazonian populations have passed down for 3,000 years remains inaccessible to the population that needs it most. Heart disease kills 650,000 Americans every year. It is the leading cause of death in this country. It has been the leading cause of death for over a century. The medical system responds with statins that provide marginal benefit and significant harm. The food system responds with processed oils stripped of nutritional value. The regulatory system responds by blocking traditional foods that prevent the disease entirely. The result is a population that spends $300 billion annually treating a condition that Amazonian tribes prevent with a seed. But the seed does not require regulatory approval to work. Sacha Inchi oil and roasted seeds are now legally available in the United States from specialty retailers. The cost is approximately $20 for a bottle of oil that lasts 1 month. The roasted seeds can be eaten directly, added to salads, blended into smoothies, or ground into protein powder. The preparation requires no special knowledge. The taste is mild and slightly nutty, far more pleasant than the fish burps that accompany fish oil supplementation. The same food that protected indigenous hearts for 3,000 years can protect yours starting tonight. The tribes who consume it have near zero heart disease, not low rates, near zero. They did not achieve this through pharmaceutical intervention. They did not achieve it through surgical procedures. They achieved it by eating a seed every day, the same seed their ancestors ate, the same seed the USDA told you was not safe for human consumption. The regulatory barriers have been partially lifted. The knowledge is now available. The only question remaining is whether you will continue trusting the agencies that block this food for decades or start trusting the indigenous populations who have thrived on it for millennia. 650,000 Americans will die of heart disease this year. The tribes that eat Sacha Inchi will lose almost none. The seed is legal now. The choice is yours. Thanks for watching. Click here to check out another video and make sure to hit subscribe.